My daughter, she went to VCU,
Okay.
got accepted, and art program. And VCU's art program is notoriously hard. They don't take everyone who applies.
Okay.
And when you get in, it's like a boot camp. You don't have time for partying. You've got project after project. You have to start projects even before they are remotely due to stay on top of it. And once she graduated, she confessed she had a point where she felt like she needed to talk with someone. And they say they have resources.
Okay.
She even had an appointment with someone, and she was like, "Mom, there was no help. They didn't help me at all."
I've heard that from our youth,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you reinforced and spoke about that, because people don't know. People don't realize that. I was at the Prince George's Community Hospital. It's been about 4 or 5 weeks now, I think, maybe a little less. But I was there to support a friend, because I'm an advocate. I go to the hospitals if somebody is having suicide ideation or there's an attempt. And if I'm called, I will go in. But there were 6 to 10 individuals that were in the emergency room that were there because of a suicide attempt. No one was over the age of 17. There were no beds, though. There were no beds. There were no beds to house individuals who needed help. Some had been there for 3 days. My friend had happened to be there for the total of 4 days. They could not find a bed in our state for individuals to go to get help. There are not enough psychologists or psychiatrists in the state of Maryland working in the area of mental health to help. A lot of the hospitals are not equipped with mental health facilities to be able to provide the resources. A lot of the patients that are there in the mental health ward, I spoke to 3 nurses while I was there, are treated terribly, are sometimes laughed at, are sometimes triggered, and there is not a help. And it's sad to me, and that's why we're doing this. We have to take new, innovative ways to reach our communities. We have to be the new voices, because just as though suicides happen in Capitol Hill, they happen in Southeast. They happen amongst the homeless. They happen in the jails. We don't hear about it until it's a celebrity, right?
Yep.
Celebrity. And now it's big news. But when it's right in your community and nobody is speaking about it, and mental health is still not spoken about in detail in our health subjects in school, that beginning stage, we're losing individuals to suicide. So, we all know what suicide is here. Suicide is when an individual intentionally harms themselves with an intent to end their life, to die. When people say, "I don't want to be here anymore," some individuals will tell you, "I'm tired." Some will tell you, "I've had enough." Some will tell you, "I don't deserve to live." Some will tell you, "I'm already dead. I'm just here." That's suicide. There are typically 25 attempts before one completed. But the statistics say that literally every 12 minutes there's an attempt. We've been sitting here only for 43 minutes. The numbers are increasing. So, Do you think that people tell you when they're considering suicide? No. You were fortunate sometimes.
Yeah, maybe in a joking manner.
In a joking manner? Okay.
Probably.
Okay. People do tell us sometimes in ways that we don't even know. We just sometimes are closed in our minds or in our eyes, or we're so consumed with our own lives that we miss it. And then at other times, they don't tell you because they're ashamed to speak up and say, I'm not okay. That was me. I did not want to speak up. Well, I did try to speak up about the bullying. They told me to get over it and kids would be kids. And then I had to be strong. And I still hear parents, I hear community members today say that bullying is not a problem and it doesn't relate to suicide. Explain that to Jordan's mom that died and he was 9 years old. Explain that to the young man in California that was a cheerleader that took his life. And I think he was only, I think he might have been 10. Explain that to the young lady that just took her life last year as she was 8. Yes, it does. If bullying hurts. Suicide is permanent. The effects of bullying lead to suicide at times if you never heal. So yes, people they tell us in ways so they may disengage. They may, for teenagers, they may overly, engage in drugs. They overly engage in dangerous activities, racing cars sometimes. They may be cutters. You may notice that you have individuals that have multiple marks on their arms or just other places also, because I know that for some of my friends, they hid their arms because they knew that people would look there. So it'd be like on the inside of the leg. And it's just a release of pressure or that pain. Or they feel that as though somebody has done something to them and it's not, they deserve more punishment. Sometimes people are punishing themselves, not forgiving yourselves. People always disconnect, I will say, in some way, form, or fashion. It may be slight. They put a hand up somewhere amongst the story. At times they shut down. They start giving personal items away. They'll tell you those direct things that I don't want to be here that we just talked about. They post on social media. They decline from work. They leave work. They quit work. They leave school. They fail in their grades. They stop paying bills, adults. They close lights. They don't want to eat. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be seen. And then at other times, they have so much life, and you could be right here today, happy and enjoying the day and like it's the best day ever, and they take their life tomorrow. It's always different. There is no one way to identify suicide. But what do you do once you identify? You want them to tell you the story. You want to let them know it's okay. And we may have a chance to do some role playing today on how to really engage if you're running into a crisis situation and how do you help. I will tell you this, the one thing that I will give you in trying to assist a person that's in crisis, you want to get them safe for now. You can't guarantee their safety for the rest of their lives. You can't take on that pressure of if a person does complete, that it's your fault. I never ever want you to feel that way. A lot of people feel a lot of pressure and say, what could I have done differently? Sometimes there's nothing you could have done. And sometimes what you could have done is not going to change where you're at today. What you can look at this moment is what you have right now and what you can give later on. That makes sense? I'm going to give you ladies a 5-minute break. And so we're going to come back.